Hello.
Hi. Just so everyone knows, we actually did start 10 minutes ago. We just forgot to hit.
We've been having a really good conversation.
We were chatty. But here we are now.
Yeah. So we don't have any viewers yet. So
How
we
can
won't
we tell if
do
there's viewers?
right here where it says viewers.
Oh, now you're doing it. Smarty.
Now it says one viewer, right?
That is correct.
Oh, you can see it too.
Look, she's got a smart one.
It's
Carolyn.
Carolyn. Evening to you, my dear.
Evening.
Ooh, sorry. Sorry. It's like on a delay on my phone. It's like you're live.
Good evening to you.
Top of the evening to you, Carolyn McCarthy. Always happy to see you, my dear. That's right.
I love this accent. Can you see it?
All right.
Oh,
So-
Heather's here too. Hey, Heather.
Hey, girl. We got a two for today.
Oh,
Two.
And you guys are doing another live tonight, aren't you?
Oh,
No.
God, I hope not.
No. I thought I seen that you were doing another one tonight.
No,
Oh.
originally she was like, okay, so we're going live
You're the best stalker
and
ever.
the holistic dog care, and
Love
then
you,
we're
Heather.
going live with Push, and then we're doing our own, right? And I'm like, no, let's not do our own.
Yeah.
You're like, yeah, this is enough.
Usually have to completely twist my arm to get me to do videos. Like, can we please try to be in a good mood and do a live? please?
Feels like a stalker.
Please, as you come out and you're all grumpy.
So look at me being overambitious, being like,
Yeah.
let's do 3.
Maybe we will. If we go on to the third
How did
live,
that-
guys, we will likely be drunk by then. So
Not gonna happen.
if you see that we're live later on today,
Don't
jump
tune in.
on because it'll be hilarious.
Probably not.
So cheers.
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 We begin now.
We've got 8 people
Cheers,
here. Hey
my
Jim.
dear.
Jim Whittier's here. Oh my
Oh,
god.
my
Hello. I like that guy. He's really cool.
He
He's-
is.
He's my man crush. As his wife, do you mind?
You're good.
It's
You're
okay.
good.
Okay. Jim. I love you, Jim.
Hey, Jim, can you share it on our page? And bring me more wine. No, I'm kidding.
And bring more wine, please.
I vote yes for drunken number 3. Heather, I love you so much. That could be very dangerous.
Oh, who else do we have here? Scroll down.
I don't know how to work it. There's too many buttons.
Let me work it. Put my thing down, flip it, and reverse it. It's your flipping nipple playing now. Myrna.
Man, woo!
Hello, guys.
Oh my God, thank you guys all.
Yes, thank you guys all for joining us. So we're here today with the beautiful Trish
The
Whittier,
one and only.
the one and the only, from Baby Steps to Healthier Pets, to discuss vaccines. This was Trish's idea this week. She was like, we really need to talk about this issue right now.
Yeah.
So we were like, let's do it 100%. Let's do it. Trish, tell everyone why or what sparked your interest in talking about this right now.
So I've been helping a lot of people with the keto diet for dogs. And one of the last dogs that I was helping had passed away a couple weeks ago. And what started this dog's cancer, it was only 4 years old, was at the vaccine site. She thought she was being a good mom, going every year, getting the vaccines. And the last time she got a lump where the vaccine site was, it grew and the vet didn't think it was anything, put hot compresses on. By the time they diagnosed it, it was growing pretty quickly and it did spread to the dog's lungs and she didn't last very long. And it was all from over vaccination, just, yeah. And 4 years old, it just breaks my heart, 4 years old.
Yeah,
I didn't know.
I think, are you getting feedback or just us?
You know what? Jim said to turn my volume down.
Oh.
And I didn't listen to my husband.
No, but I think we can turn ours down too, probably. But that's, that's why I feel like it's so important to talk about these things, is because, the majority of pet parents are just like this dog mom, right? I mean, we were too. We don't know.
Yeah.
We're going to do whatever it is that, the vet suggests, or whatever letter we get in the mail. It says, oh, they're,
It's time
due
for this
for this or that.
vaccine.
And so
Yeah.
we we tend to rely upon our vet for our overall pet health needs, right?
Absolutely.
And taking it
Absolutely.
into our own hands. So, and this is such an important topic when it comes to that.
Time out
Hey,
on
Trisha.
that note. Trisha, hey girl. She said that she's having a hard time hearing.
You are? Okay, wait, hold on. Let's see. Is anybody else having a hard time hearing?
Is it both of us or just one of us?
Yeah, I don't.
Let us know.
Yeah. Please chime in and let us know if you can hear us.
Because maybe
And
I'm not close enough to the computer.
I hear you. Come on. Bring it in, baby. Bring it in.
come on.
Bring it in. Jim, fix it for us.
I'm
Are you
getting
guys,
more
can you
wine.
guys hear us? Are we still live?
It says
Is
Is that better, the volume? Can you check on your computer, Jim, how the volume is?
Yeah.
So, I mean, the other thing that sparked this, I'm hoping people can hear us, is that, you know, when I worked at, well, Natural Pet, is a lot of people brought their animals in the springtime, especially dogs, because you want to get the heartworm, you want to get the fecal exam, so it started me thinking is that a lot of people are going to come in now and get a ton of vaccines. So this is like the perfect time to talk about, you know, not over vaccinating. And just to be clear is that I've been called an anti-vaxxer, and I'm not. I think that there's a lot of lovely vaccines out there, core vaccines that our animals need. Is everybody hearing now?
It's on our side that they're having a problem. They will say,
Hi, Chris in the house.
feedback for Jay and Adrian. Yours is fine.
Trisha's always perfect.
Fine, I'm good.
Always.
I got it going on.
Yeah, you do.
Okay, so how do I fix feedback? You're the sound person. Maybe we should put in our new microphone.
Hey, Jim.
Well, I'm turning down. What do you have your volume at, Trish?
67.
Okay. I'll turn mine to 60. Do you think maybe?
Is it that they can't
now?
hear, or is it feedback?
It's feedback they're getting on our end.
Yeah.
I'm not getting it from you guys.
Well, maybe it's because we're so loud and you're just like calm and collected.
Both of you turn down your volume so you can hear, but it's right at the least you can hear with. That'll get rid of the feedback.
Okay, so Jim said to turn it down as much as we can, that we can hear each other, and that'll get rid of feedback.
Okay.
How about now?
So let me turn mine down.
If they're feedback,
The wine helps.
It's like I can't even turn down volume without needing help. Can you guys still hear me?
Chris said,
Can you still hear her?
I can hear both of you. I can barely hear you, but I'm deaf in one ear.
Yeah, I was gonna say I have it at 20%.
Oh,
And now that it's so low, I'm yelling.
well, that's what I tend to do when I get excited about something. I tend to talk louder and faster.
Sarah said we're fine. I see we just carry on.
Okay,
We'll see what happens.
I think we'll be
You
fine.
guys, if we start getting crazy, just like all caps, be like, stop, we can't hear you.
Yeah, if it gets really bad
It
where
gets
it's like
really
I'm gonna
terrible.
have to jump off because this is annoying, then just like yell at us.
Yeah.
But we'll try to stay a little bit away from our computer because when I get passionate about something, I get closer and I'm like, yeah. So
It does. Very scary.
we'll try to stay
Oh,
back.
Trish said it's much better.
Oh,
Yay!
cool.
Oh,
Okay,
good,
okay.
good.
Thanks, Jim.
Thank you,
Thanks,
Jim.
honey.
Cheers. Whoa, girls, I'm way behind. You guys are both taking sips here, and I'm just like, ding.
We
Okay.
need to time this correctly. Okay, time for a sip.
Okay, so where are we at?
So vaccines and the
about
core vaccines. I think that, I mean, well, we were talking about, I just want to go back for a second and talk about spring checkups. Because one thing, and you guys probably agree with kitties as well as dogs, is that one thing that a lot of vets do automatically, and it saves people money, so to speak, is that they will just give wormers without doing a fecal exam first. So since we're talking about spring exams, I just wanted to go into that, is that don't deworm your pet unless they need to be dewormed. It's I can't even think. See, I already had too much wine. it's just toxins that we're putting into our pets' bodies. So I mean, I'm all about checking their fecals for worms and parasites, but don't just automatically do worms. So that's just a little blurb about this spring.
Well, and if I could shout out on this one, because this is also a big issue when it comes to kittens. So when you first get in the basic owned veterinarian clinics, like the like Mars owned and whatnot veterinarian clinics, it is protocol that you take in a kitten and they get dewormed, spayed, neuter, vaccinated, all of that in one visit. They're getting all of this at one time. And you're like, wow. I mean, do I really want this cat to live 9 lives, or do I only want it to live like a half of one?
I mean, like you were saying, I mean, how I would look at it before is that I'm being a good pet parent. I'm getting this all taken care of all at once. But it's so hard. It's a pesticide. It's literally a pesticide to kill the parasites. And if they don't have them, let's not do it.
Yeah. You know? And I know that animals are a lot different. You know, they're a lot different from humans. I get that. But I like to think of it as, would I do this for myself or my child? Right? If I were to take my child in and the doctor said, you know what, now's a good time. Let's fill them full of antibiotics and steroids and vaccines and all of this today. First of all, they're not going to do that to a human. They will do it to an animal, but they won't do that to a human.
Right. So, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, so you have to think about it yourself. If it's your child and you do have a doctor that says something like that, you're going to be asking questions. Why would we do that? What are the side effects? Is this going to harm my baby? How, you know, what are the results going to be here? And why would I do all of this? And could we do this spread out a little bit, maybe? So it's not so harsh on their bodies right now. All at once.
Yeah, absolutely.
Think about it the same with your pets, you know?
Right. I mean, actually, one of the people that I'm helping is this little Shih Tzu that has a large tumor around her liver, and her liver enzymes are through the roof. I got her ALP down like 1,000 points. It was pretty impressive. The ALT is still really high. It came down like 10 points, so we're doing other things to try to get that down. But this little dog got an infected nail bed, and she brought it to the vet, and I wasn't even thinking. I'm like, so what? Because I was like, let's make sure that this isn't another form of cancer. So she came back and she's like, you know, good news, it's just an infected nail bed. I'm like, okay, good news. Well, then the next morning I wake up and I'm like, wait, this dog has major liver problems. We don't want major painkillers. We don't want antibiotics. That's all going to filter through the liver. And I'm like, wait.
Yeah.
So I got her on like natural stuff, and the dog's already showing signs of relief and doing good. So, I mean, there are alternatives that you could do, but I mean, you know, absolutely. If a dog or a cat has loaded with worms and parasites, you want them to get taken care of.
Right.
But only if they need to be taken care of.
Correct. Yeah. Never use unnecessary medicines or vaccines.
Yeah, she just said, and now we offer one shot with 5 vaccines.
Yeah,
and
exactly.
That drives me nuts that they put so many vaccines in one shot.
Yeah, they call it the cocktail shot.
Yeah,
and they're like, what?
Yeah,
like why?
But you know what? I mean, even when I worked at the vet, it's like it was hard to get single dose vaccines because no vets were buying them. So the manufacturers were like, we're not making any money on this.
Yeah.
And it's like, it's something that, you know, more people need to be educated so that the vets can get a single dose of distemper or parvo or, you know, whatever it should be.
Yeah.
You know, given a 5-in-1 or 12-in-1 or whatever they're doing is crazy.
No.
Yeah. It's just so harsh to the body.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
So let's talk about core vaccines. And I have to be honest, is that I have 4 kitties. But I don't really know the main vaccines for cats. I know dogs backwards and frontwards, but out of my 4 cats, I mean, they're all indoor cats. My Misty, that you guys know, has been sick from, you know, when she was a little ball gerbil, I used to call her, because she was just this really sickly cat that wasn't supposed to make it 2 days. And, you know, now she's 13 and still going strong. She has never been vaccinated in her life, and I believe she's still with us today because she has never been vaccinated. But she's so sickly, I have no doubt in my mind that if I vaccinated her, I think it would kill her.
Yeah.
Oh,
You know?
yeah.
So with the core vaccines for kitties, what do you guys suggest? And,
So
when do you get them, and how often? And
well, okay, so obviously, so the core vaccines for cats is like one lump thing. It's a FERCP, which is feline. I just forgot. You don't remember, do you? Yeah, it's FERCP.
Okay.
It's like
Hold on.
Yeah, I used to have it, but I've had a Red Bull vodka and
okay,
have a glass
in
of
your
wine.
last live when Adrian's like,
But
Siri, what is?
Siri, what is FERCP? Yeah, it's a booster. It's a lot of words. The
Feline viral rhinotracheitis,
calicivirus and panleukemia.
panleukemia.
Yeah.
Okay.
So,
Leukemia.
yeah.
Yeah.
Which is they're all actually deadly diseases for cats. So we do recommend that and they're airborne. So we do recommend that you get the core vaccines. However, there are different ways of giving these core vaccines. Okay. Of what I know, there's 3 different ways. The majority of veterinarians conventional veterinarians that don't own their own practices or whatever are going to use the live vaccine.
Okay.
Then there are other veterinarians, or you can ask for, which we recommend, the non-adjuvanted. I believe is how you pronounce it. Basically, it's not a live vaccine. We're not pumping the live viruses into our cats. And then you have the homeopathic nosodes, which are basically a non-adjuvanted and homeopathic mixture.
Right. And then there's okay, so I have a question for that. Because the one thing, knowing that Misty has never had a vaccine, when I have to bring her to the vet, I'm like, nobody breathe on her, nobody look at her. I'm like, it is because you're at a vet's office. It's like going to the hospital.
Yeah.
So the nosodes, have you guys used those and had titers that show protection?
Yeah, so we have used them for our kittens. So this is
our first time using them.
The first time, because before, the last kitten that we had before recently, or last June, when we got our 2 kittens that we have now, was 14 years ago or 15 years ago, Mr. Vittles.
Okay.
And at that time, we knew nothing about anything. We said, go to the vet. We were that pet parent that says, whatever you think they need, yes, do it. He likely got, we don't even remember or have paperwork. He likely got, dewormed, vaccinated, all of it in one shot.
Yeah, we've all been there. Yeah, all.
So, but these kittens,
Thank you, Jen and Carolyn.
We wanted to take to, what is it?
They put all the info for the
oh, you guys are awesome. Yeah, for the FERCP. An upper respiratory infection. Yeah, and that's and they're very deadly. Anyway, we did get the nosodes in this for our kittens for the FERCP. In this specific situation, I took him back to get his or I took them back, and I took him specifically back to get his blood work done before his spay, because we were going to hold off on her, or his neuter, because we were going to hold off on her and neuter him first. And so we got the blood test, and I said, can you draw some blood and do a titer? I just want to know if they took, because there's a lot of controversy on, is this, an actual vaccine, or is it, not? So my holistic vet talked us out of it. Actually, she said, you don't need it 3 times. The first 2 times I stood my ground. The last time she said, I didn't draw enough blood. Do you really need it? You really don't need it. So I can poke him again and draw some more blood, or you can come back in a year when he's a year old and test then. And I was like, fine. So I haven't had him tested yet, because he's not yet a year old. He will be at the end of this month. But so we will have him tested. I haven't had him tested, but that is an option.
I'd be very interested because, like, with my Ava, she's had cancer, so she will never be vaccinated again. I don't give her any heartworm treatment. And out here, we're in the desert. There's not a lot of mosquitoes. Heartworm's very low out here, but it still could happen. So I would love to give her.
Heartworm is so rare, very rare in cats in general. For dogs,
right, right. But in dogs, it's huge. So with Ava, it's like I'd like to try the no-sodes. To see if they work. So I'm curious with that.
Yeah, we're super curious. And we're a little bit, I mean.
I've heard great things. We've heard both. And I love homeopathic.
When we got these kittens, we said, okay, this is our first chance to do it right from the beginning. So we want everything to be like the best that we can, that we can figure out, like that we can do. So, that's why we went with the more homeopathic way versus the regular vaccines. But however, if you're getting vaccines are still vaccines. Always go for the non-adjuvanted. Just ask your vet. They will know. There's one called PureVax. They make it for rabies. Also with rabies, because your vet's going to require that your cat gets vaccinated at least once. Go for the non-adjuvanted rabies shot. And you're just a lot safer from side effects when you go for the non-live versus the live vaccine.
Absolutely, yeah. And that it's another thing too. I mean, like when you were saying that your vet kind of talked you out of it. I think when we go to the vet, we have to kind of know what we want for our pets. Because the vet that I go to, I absolutely love him. I referred him to so many people out here. He is not an integrative vet. He's very open-minded. I've said this a lot. And, like when Ava, he's like, there's a chemo that would be great for her, which it's a personal decision. I just would never do chemo for myself or my dogs, but that's me. And so when he said, he goes, this chemo for her type of cancer is like really got great results. And I'm like, I know we don't know each other, but hi, I'm Trish, it's like, but I won't do that. But he was really cool. And he's like, okay, well, tell me what you're going to do. He was very open-minded, and not all vets are going to be like that. But like when you go in and you want to get, a Titeran or whatever it is, if you don't want to do chemo, you could talk kindly to your vet saying, listen, I respect what you're saying, but please hear me now. This is what I want. And they're people, they're going to listen to you. Yeah. And if they get snotty and upset, well, then you just could find another vet.
Correct.
Well, and I think that's important. I think that's a hard lesson that we learned along the way. And we did an interview with Dr. Liz Bales on this. She's a conventional veterinarian, and she is fantastic. She's a feline specialist.
I love her, yeah.
Don't get another nosebleed.
I know.
We're both like bleeding during the interview.
I know. You started gripping.
They both had nosebleeds today.
I don't know why, but how important it is, and how, Jay tends to be a little more on the assertive side when there's a disagreement with the veterinarian. I tend to be a little more on the, and then I'll just never go back. You know what I mean?
Right.
And really trying to find that balance between our two personality types to be able to clearly communicate with the veterinarian. This is who I am. This is what I would like to do. This is what I think, or this is where I'm coming from, and then be able to actually have a discussion. I think, Dr. Liz Bales talks about just the value of that from the veterinarian's perspective as well. It's not just about, I disagree with this vet about this. It's actually having the tools to communicate.
And open dialogue with your vet. And that's something that we failed at for many years. Like she said,
many years.
Like the second that a vet would say something that was against our beliefs, we literally just went and found another vet. We have been through, and since we've been here, we have been through, I don't even know how many, probably 8 or 9 vets that we've different. I think
we're at 8, yeah.
Yeah, different vets.
It is. I had an experience.
Only because we never opened up conversation.
Right. And the thing is that I'm shy by nature, so it's like anybody in authority, I'm afraid to say anything.
Yeah.
But I had a dog, and he did end up dying, and it's a long story, but they literally thought he had lepto. And so he went downhill very quickly. And we ran the titer on lepto to see what it was. By the time the results came back, he was already gone. But they were convinced that that's what he had. So it was a practice with several vets, and I love this practice. They weren't completely, natural, but they did a little of each. They literally had every vet in the practice meet me back in the kennel area where my dog was hooked up to all these IVs. And they're like, listen, you need to get your pack in here and you need to get every single one of them vaccinated for lepto. Now, your dog is dying and the rest of your pack is going to die if you don't do this. And they pretty much had me cornered. And my heart's beating out of my chest. And normally I would respond as crying and running out and grabbing my dog. So what I did was I'm like, in my head, I'm like, keep calm. And I'm like, I stood there and I listened to them. And I finally, and this was the first time that I realized that they're people too. And I said, listen, I respect that you are worried about my animals. I love that you guys are worried about this. I have a dog dying right now and I have other ones at home that could be dying of the same thing. I said, but I will never get them vaccinated against lepto. I said, if you really think this is lepto, let's put them all on a round of doxycycline. Let's treat them for it, but I'm not going to do the vaccine. And I said, now I'm respecting you. Please respect me. And I continue to go to that vet because they're like, okay, we get it. You're not going to give in. And it was really quite a moment of realizing that they're people. They were worried about my animals. They were thinking that they were telling me the best thing to do.
Yeah.
And it ended up that my dog didn't have lepto. So that's.
So your pack was safe?
Yeah, they were. Yeah.
Did they go through the medication anyway?
I did put them on Doxy, but as soon as we got the results back, then I stopped it early because none of them ever got sick, like the one dog. So. Yeah. It was a horrible experience, but it was an eye opener to me that I seen these people as human.
Yeah.
That, they were looking out for me. They thought that they were telling me the best thing, but then I'm like, okay, now you have to listen to my beliefs and what I'm feeling, and
I'm the parent here.
Yeah.
It's such a valuable, it's a valuable exercise. I think I wish that we would have been more qualified in a way, had recognized that the dynamic that was going on, because it was frustrating. We had a bunch of cats and they had different issues, and it's like, well, this is not going to work. We can't go back. Your cat's constipated. We're going to give them antibiotics. It's like, why?
Yeah.
I don't understand.
And it's not a bad thing to question your vet. I mean, because sometimes they might be saying, I want an antibiotic, and you're thinking, okay, this is crazy. Where's the infection? But then once they explain it to you, it's like, okay, that makes sense. I see where you're coming from.
Well, actually, in that case, when Mr. Vittles was constipated, and she said, yeah, he was just constipated, and he had like a hard turd, basically. He had a hard turd there, and I stuck my finger up, and I got it out, and he should be good. I'm going to give him an antibiotic, though, or I would recommend an antibiotic. And I said, because it was that cute little girl, can't remember her name, but I was like, why? Does he have an infection? And she's like, no, it's just, regular protocol. Yeah, it's just policy. It's just protocol. And I was like, no, yeah, I don't think if he doesn't have an infection, we don't need an antibiotic. And she's like, okay. And like really like, oh, it seemed like I was the first person to ask, why would you give my cat an antibiotic if he doesn't have an infection? And in that moment, it was like a eye opener even for her too. She was like, oh yeah, well, I mean, good for you.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
Right. Sure.
Yeah.
Well,
yeah. It is having that open dialogue. It is actually talking to, your vet instead of being scared of them because they have a degree in something you don't,
Yeah.
Then.
But it also goes to show, I think vaccines are a great topic to be able to just initially talk with a vet about. If you're looking for a new vet, if you're looking for, what we have now is kind of like the setup where we know where our emergency clinics are if there's anything. We have situations with Pooh Bear that happen that are scary. We've got our homeopathic veterinarian. We have this great feline conventional vet, very open-minded vet up here near us. So I feel like we're so much more able to handle whatever happens. Whereas a number of times, especially for us initially, it was, we didn't go to the vet unless there was something wrong. Mm-hmm. Like there's a boo-boo or there's a this or there's a that. right? And we would get the cards in the mail saying, oh, it's time for this vaccine. Oh, it's time for that. And at the time, we felt like negligent parents because we actually just couldn't afford to get, 5 or 6 cats.
I totally get that.
Right?
Yeah.
But it's vaccines are a great conversation starter, I think, especially if you're looking to either communicate better with your veterinarian, or if you're kind of doing that interview, like feeling someone out, like where do you guys land on this? And can we talk about this? Are you even open to conversation?
Yeah.
Because that lane of communication is just the most invaluable thing, because we all know that when we're going through something serious, or when we have an emergency situation, we're just at the nearest vet's office, and we are like, please help us, right?
Yeah.
So,
it's being reactive instead of, I mean, it gets to the point. And I just recently did that. I told you guys about my Frankie, bringing him in. He hasn't had, Maggie's sitting here watching you guys. He hasn't had a dental because, it's like the healthier ones that don't, say, hey, look I have something wrong with me. When you have a lot of animals, the expense is, and I'm like, I haven't had his teeth checked since we got him, and then I bring him in. They're like, okay, we're going to run a senior panel. I'm like, senior? No senior? And I'm like, they're like, yeah, he's considered a senior. So the poor guy just had a dental, and so did Maggie at the same time, which was ridiculous to bring in 2 cats in at once because the expense was crazy. You need to actually separate them out throughout the year. But poor Frankie lost 8 teeth. And the thing is that I checked their teeth. His was not visibly bad until they got in there. I mean, sometimes they just need to do a cleaning to see where the real issues are.
Yeah.
Because even the vet, when he examined, he's like, yeah, for his age, and never having a dental, he looks great. And then he got in there, he's like, Trish, his mouth is a mess. And I'm like, no, and then I feel horrible. And so, but back to the vaccines with dogs. So I'm glad you guys went over the cat vaccine. So with dogs, there's 4 core vaccines. I mean, one we all know by law is rabies. But if it's not a healthy animal like Ava, and even my Kira, the one that's laying next to me, she has severe allergies. I will never vaccinate her again. So with Ava and Kira, I get an exemption and I run titers every year to make sure that they're protected. And they are. The rabies vaccine has been proven to last like 7 years. I mean, it's in dogs. So, and we'll talk more about the dosage and stuff, but the other 3 vaccines for dogs, that the disease is deadlier than the vaccine. I mean, the vaccines have side effects, a lot of them do. But the 3 that you have to get is parvo, distemper, and adenovirus. Those are the 3 that if your dogs get them, they could die.
What was the last one? What was the last one?
Adenovirus, which is, it's like hepatitis.
Yeah.
So, I mean, those are the 3, but you could titer for every single one. The one is the adenovirus vaccine. If they get it correctly when they're a puppy, it's been proven that they're protected for life. Where a lot of times with parvo and distemper, if they were vaccinated within, not within the window of puppyhood, they might need a booster later on in life.
We have birds making out right outside of
there are morning doves having sex on our wall right now.
That's I said making out.
Baby dog.
You're like, no,
that was
sex.
Totally sex.
This has become a porno.
It's impressive though. That one bird just kind of.
Yeah, that was.
So it's like springtime there. Love is in the air.
Let's get it on. Sorry. Parvo was one of those things. I didn't know much about parvo. We had some really good neighbors of ours that adopted this beautiful black lab puppy, got her home, and Punchinino was her name. What a beauty. Little stinker in Italian is what they said. They named her.
Who were we talking about?
At the Valentines.
That beautiful
was when
dog.
you were young. Yeah, and then she started getting sick, and turns out that the entire litter had parvo. And they did everything for that little girl. She ended up losing a leg, and I remember going to visit them, and it was like she
Thank you.
Closest I can say, it sounds terrible, but it was like her skin was rotting already. I mean, it was like it smelled
Parvo
like
was
death.
horrible. I rescued a Great Dane puppy, and the whole litter had parvo, which we didn't know. Brought the little thing home, and what they go through. And I swear the only reason this dog lived is because I worked for Karen, Dr. Becker at the time, and she had me bring sub-Q fluids home and told me what to do. And it was like that last day that I'm like, we're losing him. This is it. He's not making it through. He was literally, because a Great Dane puppy grows so quickly, and he couldn't keep anything down. He had it coming out both ends. I'm like, this is it. He couldn't even lift his little puppy head. It was amazing, though, to watch those antibodies kick in and take over. It was like he went from I'm dying to all of a sudden his body was like, I got this. And he woke up and I'm like, I got a little jar of baby food and I'm like, come on, little guy, you want to eat? And I have it on my hand and I offered to him. He almost took my whole arm off. And I'm like, oh, he's better.
Oh,
He didn't make it, but it was horrible disease. And all the other puppies didn't make it. And like
That's
I said,
the same with Nina.
Yeah.
No, she was the only puppy, and I know it's because they did everything and anything they could to save her, but none of the other puppies made it. And she ended up making it with she had to have a whole her front leg was amputated.
Wow.
But she sure.
So I mean, this is a perfect example. I'm so not anti-vaccines. I mean, parvo, distemper, adenovirus. It's needed. It's needed.
Well, and I think that there's a tendency for pet parents to kind of equate the vaccine controversy with the human vaccine controversy. You know what I mean? Like, it's such a controversial topic. It really doesn't have to be at all. No. And it really just is a matter of some very common sense conversations and finding out and weighing risks.
Yeah.
You know? Yeah. It's a very it can be very, very simplified.
So what do you say, Trish, about like moving forward? So I think we're both on the same page Dana. As far as Dana. So we're both on the same page as far as yes, the core vaccines are necessary. We should do that. What do you think of as far as like going forward? Yeah. Like, do you recommend? Often? Yeah. How much? How often?
So I do believe. I mean, like with puppies, like I said, cats, it's a little gray area for me. But puppies, sometimes vets do it at like 6 weeks, 8 weeks, 12 weeks, 16 weeks. No, you need one, and then you need a booster because that's the best way vaccines work. Then you need a titer. And for those of you that don't know what a titer is, it actually checks for immunity in the blood. So they draw some blood and they check it for a specific disease, and you could tell if they're protected. And I think that that's the way to go. And a lot of times, if they're properly vaccinated when they're puppies or kittens, they are good. They are good for life. Yeah. Sadly, rabies is by law. You have to, the first one they get, and I think this is the same for cats, is that you get a 1 year, and then after that you could switch to a 3 year. And sadly, they last longer than that, but the law has not been. And Dr. John Robb, I think everybody should go to his page right now and like it and follow him because he is trying to change the laws. He's amazing.
Yes. Protect the pets. Protect the pets.
Yes. Jim, you might want to put his thing on there.
Come on, Jim.
Jim, we need a link. A link in the comments, please.
I mean, the other thing that he's trying to do is that, and you guys talked about this in your last live, a little, 5-pound Yorkie is getting the same dose as my 120-pound Great Dane.
Yeah.
It doesn't make sense. Mm-mm. It doesn't make sense. They don't need the same dose. It needs to be, regulated that it goes by weight. Right. So yeah, I do believe that vaccines when they're young, and then titering after that to see if they're protected. Except for rabies, as long as they're healthy. After the first one, I would switch to the 3 year.
Yeah. Okay. So here's a question for you about the rabies thing, because, with cats, it tends to be because a lot of our cats are only indoor cats, and there's a lot of veterinarians that will. There's a lot of veterinarians. Thank you, Jim. That will actually give us the option. Like, it's optional. Like our vet, our conventional vet that we love so much. She's like, would never vaccinate an older cat. And if you
No.
don't want your cat vaccinated, check this box. Like, that's fine, kind of thing. So we have the option. And I think that's probably in a lot of places because we don't have rabies police and our cats
Right.
aren't out at a dog park for the most
And
part.
it is,
you know.
I think it's a huge difference between cats and dogs.
Oh,
I
yeah.
mean, my cats, they're indoor. The most they go outdoors, I have a catio. It's caged in. It's a lovely little thing that they get fresh air, but that's it. I mean, they don't get to go on the grass. They don't get in contact with any other animals. It's like, and they're indoor cats.
Yeah.
And it's like, I don't vaccinate them. I don't.
Yeah.
I mean, they all came to me as strays. And they all got, tested for feline leukemia. They all got their core vaccines because in order to get them fixed, most vets will require that, except for Misty because she was already sick. So they're like, we're not vaccinating her, which I love. So, and that's it. Then they're done.
So then tell me this, when it comes to, and explain this if you can, because I don't actually know the right answer yet or the correct answer, but when
and if I don't know, I'm just going to walk out. And all of a sudden I'm like,
This interview is over.
No, but when it comes to the rabies vaccine, maybe you don't either, but when it comes to the rabies vaccine, we can absolutely titer for that as well.
yeah.
If you titer, can you get a waiver for the 3-year vaccine too? Or do you do it every 3 years?
See, and that's the problem. Even with Ava, that is a cancer survivor, I get her titered. My vet knows that I will never vaccinate her again because she's a cancer survivor. But if she bit someone, which she's perfect, she would never do that, she probably would still have to be quarantined. But here's the crazy part, and this blows my mind, is that a dog that has a rabies vaccine, if they bit someone, they probably would still have to get quarantined too. So it's like it's crazy. It's like, so what's the reason of getting this in a sick animal if the repercussions of them biting someone are the same? I mean, to me, if they have a rabies vaccine, why would they? Are you guys talking about me? I'm right here.
No, every time I talk, I hear like my reverb. I'm like, right. And then it's like, and I'm like, do you hear that? She's like, it's a dog. I'm like, no, it's me.
No, it's literally, there's a dog in the background, is there not?
No,
it's me.
I have sleepy little Boo next to me.
Hi, Sleepy Boo.
How
Look at those
precious.
velvety
And then I have the
ears.
other one. It's like, black pets are so
Maggie.
sweet. They're both on each side of me.
They love you so much. No, you're totally worth it. So it must be just the.
But is it
back up on the
possible
rabies.
to get a titer get a waiver with the titer for a rabies vaccine? Do you know?
I see. I mean, I know that Dr. Becker has had a video that you could get a waiver, but I asked my vet about it, and he's like, I will put in her record that she's covered, that you've proven by doing the titer. He's like, but I don't know of any waiver that is like legal. Yeah.
So it might not be an actual.
Yeah. But
I
I don't think there's like a form.
So it's going to be vet to vet, basically.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah. Kind of like ours.
I mean, I have proof that she has immunity, but I don't know how good that does me,
Yeah.
So every year I just run that expensive titer, and I need to start going through Dr. Rob because he'll do it cheaper. And my vet has lowered the price, but it's still extremely expensive to run the rabies titer.
Oh yeah.
But it's worth it to me because I'll never vaccinate her again.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You should think about or ask or tell him. Here's something for you guys that have that want to do titer testing, but it's just so expensive. You can actually tell your veterinarian that they can go through Kansas State, set up their own profile there, and set up their own account and send the blood to Kansas State and save a lot of money, both for the vet, because the reason it's so expensive is, one, people aren't asking for it.
Right.
So most people don't know about it.
If you go through the other two labs, it's LabCorp. No, I forget the other two labs. They're crazy expensive. So Kansas State is the way to go for all titers.
Yes, for all titers. So you can tell your vet that they can go to Kansas State and do this, and then they can actually offer it. If they're somebody, if they're more of an open-minded veterinarian that says, I don't want to over-vaccinate your cat or your dog, then they can set up their own profile through Kansas State and send it there instead of, these other, I can't remember the names either. When we were doing the titer challenge, I knew them. I can't believe
I can't remember, because I used to send in all blood
memory.
work, and now it's like one starts with A and one starts with L. That's all I'm remembering.
That's all. They don't have to go through A or L.
Exactly.
They don't have to go through A or L. They can go through K.
And I actually told my vet about Kansas State, and that's what he uses now for the titers, which is great. And then there's actually a vet, for those of you that are in the Colorado area, it's Journey's Mobile Vet, I think it is. I could put it in the links later on, but she's doing like low cost titering and vaccines. I mean, so some people do get the vaccines, but I asked her about the titering, and she will do the rabies vaccine titer for $66. That's awesome. Nice. Yeah.
That's way better.
You hear it?
I did hear that.
Yeah, it's not a dog. Sorry, every time
we talk. That's a really good price, though.
Every time we talk, we hear in the background.
You guys had that last time that we were doing this too.
Yeah, it's probably my computer or
Is it just me the way I talk?
Don't do that. That's scary.
That was a little spooky. Carolyn just said titers are not expensive. The vet doesn't understand or is trying to discourage it. And I think that's that's a good conversation to have with your veterinarian, because
absolutely.
It is, the blood draw is this, the running the test is that, depending on what labs they use. But they'll tell you, either they're going to, the price is jacked up for some reason, or it's not even their decision.
Through A and L, it is actually high for the veterinarian too. Literally, for these other two places where they send it off, it's expensive for them too. But guys, this is why we started the Titer Challenge, and I agree with you, Trish. You said maybe we should start it back up again, and I think we should, because I
think we should. Sorry.
Go ahead.
I think we should tweak it a little bit. Instead of having people call their vets and saying, will you do a titer? I think that we should just go in. I mean, here's the thing is that, remember, vets are people too. Talk with kindness. Say that, listen, before I vaccinate, and you can even say, listen, you're not getting vaccinated every year for rabies, and vets have to have rabies. It's like, you're getting a titer ran. Can we do the same for our pets? And then, I mean, do the challenge is that you ran the titer and you post your results.
Ooh, I like that.
Yeah.
I like
because
that.
I bet you 99% of the people are going to find out that they are more than amazingly covered for the core vaccines.
And that's what Gregory Lucas did for the Titer Challenge. He actually took Theo.
I love Gregory.
I know, he's awesome. He actually took Theo to be titered and then posted his results online.
Yeah.
The only problem with that is that because of this whole cost thing, it deters a lot of people, especially if you have multiple animals. It deters them from like $350 $20 vaccine. Like, that's a huge difference.
Well,
if you have more than one.
She's saying the vet either doesn't understand or is trying to discourage it. And I think, back to that whole like vets are people thing, I think that there's a tendency, it's maybe a human tendency. If you don't really truly understand like what something is, you're like, oh, no, this is what I know. Right? Yeah. Like it's kind of a.
Well, none of us want to look uneducated in something, but the truth is that none of us are educated in everything. You know, vets were taught what they were taught in school, and I respect every vet. I really do.
Yes.
As long as they will hear me out. You know what I mean? Right. It's like, I will listen to them. Like when I was cornered and I had these 4 vets saying, you need to listen to us. Your whole pack's going to die, And it's like, we need to educate ourselves, but we need to respect our vets too. Yeah. So as far as the vaccines, I mean, it's tiring, look into the Dr. John Robb. I mean, he does have a lower cost thing, and I think if vets knew about it, they would be open to it. Some.
Carolyn said I called 3 vets locally.
Nate is here. Hi, Nate.
Hi, Nate.
Hey, Nate.
Give Zoe some love for us.
Carolyn said, I called 3 vets locally and asked if they titer. One said no, the other said no, but they followed Dr. Jean Dodd's protocol. The third said yes.
That's so
that's
awesome.
that's the thing is that, if we have to raise awareness of, I feel like maybe we jumped the gun on the whole titer thing because
What do you mean jump the gun?
I don't know. I feel like the majority of pet parents, gun.
No.
What do you
Here's
mean,
a
but you-
gun and we're jumping.
What does that mean, jump the gun?
I think we need more wine. I have something in my eye.
If you guys.
It's probably a cat hair.
Yeah.
What about last week when we were doing a live and I literally had a cat hair in my
And I was
eye?
like, oh, I see it. And I pulled it out.
You could see it.
That happened.
It was this long. Anyway, focus, please, focus.
I think the
Jump
issue
the
is
gun.
that people don't necessarily, pet parents, for the most part, for the majority, don't understand the risks that come with vaccines.
Right. Because
So-
they're so
Oh,
normalized.
Such a good point.
Over-vaccinated.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, you're not
So-
going to want to spend the money unless you understand what can happen if you're over vaccinated. Absolutely. That's such a good point.
Yeah. I mean, if there was
Maybe that can be incorporated.
a great
to-
video.
Yeah.
Dr. John Robb has like some really good videos. But I'd love to get, you know what I would love to do? I'm just throwing it out here on live. I shouldn't be doing this on live. This is like a private conversation, but whatever. I feel like it would be great if we could get
Carolyn could see it on
interviews.
camera too.
If we could get interviews by those of us, and we're pet parents that have been, that have negative results with, I'm going to talk at some point, negative results with an over-vaccinated cat. And you've seen them, you've dealt with it, and other people, getting interviews with all of these people who have said, yeah, my cat, we have plenty of clients that, have cats that were their sole cats that passed away from a vaccine-induced sarcoma, which is what you were talking about with your client, right at the site where they get sarcoma, they get cancer, and there's no cure for that, guys. You can do everything you can to try to prolong the life, make things better, reduce inflammation, feed good diets, things like that, make them happy.
But
there's no cure for that.
Yeah.
There's no coming back from that. So
what's the idea?
Is to make it. Are you listening?
I'm still thinking like jumping the gun.
We're trying to listen.
I was saying we should make a video with
About all the testimonies of people that have.
You're there. Good job.
That is what it was.
Yes.
Well, it took you a long time to get there. It was like the long sentence.
You know what I need?
But you know what? I think Jay has a really good point. Before we jump into everybody needs the titer, I do think that, educating about the importance of what vaccines are really needed and how we don't want to over-vaccinate.
And why?
And vaccines, and why, yeah. I mean, the titers are an amazing thing, but I mean, you need to go back to why we don't want to over-vaccinate.
Right, and
also, just one more little thought is that there's vaccines like Lepto. Okay, I'm going to use that because that's what they thought my dog had. That is a bacterial disease. It's bacterial. It responds extremely well to antibiotics. I'm not against antibiotics too. If your dog has lepto, get him on doxycycline. Get him cured. But no, don't bark. Don't bark. Come here.
The second you say don't bark, don't bark.
She saw the bark face coming. She was like, no.
I mean, it's so important though. I mean, it's so important that we learn about what vaccines are important and which ones are the Lyme vaccines, the lepto vaccines. Some of these vaccines, it's like they can be cured with antibiotics because they're bacterial. You don't need a vaccine for that. And there's so many strains of that, is that you don't need to vaccinate for that. You need to just know your cat or dog, if they're sick, bring them to the vet, get them taken care of. But you don't need to do all these unnecessary vaccines.
Yes.
I think that's super important. I think, in a lot of ways, talking about antibiotics and vaccines, I think that they're just so normalized. It's like, oh, it's time for vaccines, or it's time, we need to run antibiotics. And I think that makes such a big difference. I think Dr. Karen Becker just did a video on
antibiotics.
right though, but by using antibiotics appropriately and not just,
Yes.
every time
There's a
something.
time and a place for everything.
Yeah.
I mean, antibiotics are an amazing tool. For some diseases, you need them, like lepto. You need that doxycycline. But the thing is that you don't need an antibiotic because they might get a secondary infection. It's like, okay, when they get that secondary infection, let's treat it, but let's not just give an antibiotic as a preventative.
Right. Yeah. The antibiotics are not preventatives. Let's
Right.
just make that clear. Antibiotics are not preventatives.
And overusing them.
And overusing them is creating these like antibiotic resistant
Yes.
animals that are now no
Or
longer when
strains
they
of bacteria that are-
strains of bacteria that are now like you get a dog with lepto, and if they're already
Imagine if
over
you couldn't-
antibiotic or overdosed with antibiotics.
I'm just gonna let you go with that. Over what?
Yeah. I feel like I need to take my socks off. My feet are getting hot.
I'm gonna take my socks off. And me too. Let's let our toes free. So yeah, I mean, there's so many antibiotic resistant diseases now because of the overuse of antibiotics.
Right.
Just like overuse of vaccines is not a good thing. We don't get vaccinated every year. Our pets don't need to be vaccinated every year.
Yeah, and I want to add in here that, for the most part, from my experience at least, and what I've read, is that when it comes to over-vaccinating, the results of over-vaccinating, we're not the veterinarians are not making the connection of this is because of over-vaccinations. Whereas, and that's another thing that we need to spread out there, that other people need to know.
To share. Yeah.
Awareness that people need to understand is that, even our holistic vet said, I've never seen this type of autoimmune disease with our Pooh Bear come from a vaccination. It's usually a genetic disorder. And I'm like, but no, he was 2 years old, never had a sign of anything. I am 100% sure in my mind, at least 99% sure in my mind, that this is a result of over vaccinating. Excuse me, but veterinarians don't necessarily make that connection because they aren't taught that way. So we have to, so we can be like, all of a sudden my dog has cancer, my cat has cancer, and we don't even know that if it was or if it wasn't from the fact that we had them vaccinated every year or every 3 years or whatnot,
And
So
like Ava, I mean, she's a perfect example. I've never had an animal with cancer until Ava. When I rescued Ava, when she was at the rescue, someone bit her. We think it's the mom. She was weaning the puppies. Ava was taking, not taking no for an answer. And the mom turned around and said, stop, and just hit her in the jaw and broke it. So she had to she's got a messed up mouth from this. She had to get her jaw wired and stuff. But I had to bring her to a specialist, because the rescue called me and they're like, I had picked Ava out. And they're like, okay, your puppy that you picked out is injured and we can't afford, and they're a rescue. I get it. So I'm like, I'm coming to get her. At 5 weeks, I get this little peewee puppy that has a broken jaw. Have to bring her to specialist, a dentist. I mean, she had to go through surgery. She had 5 surgeries on her mouth. The thing is that I so was focused on get the jaw fixed. I don't even know what the heck the vets were vaccinating her for. And I have no doubt in my mind that she's my first dog with cancer, because, she was over vaccinated when she was a puppy. It happens. It's just a lot on their body.
And we can't necessarily tie it together through, medical studies or whatnot. And if we could, we still wouldn't be able to afford it.
I'm gonna hunt for this, but I clearly see in my mind that correlation. Yeah, the correlation between an increase in required vaccines plus the variety of vaccines that are offered, with a direct increase, a layover graph of the cancer rates in pets. Now, I firmly believe that a lot of these processed diets have as much, if not more, to do.
I should add this too. When we lived back in Illinois, we lived in the country and we're surrounded by cornfields, and we literally, I didn't even know that they existed until I lived out there, had crop dusters going all through our property, dusting the crops with who knows what.
Right.
And, I mean, that could have really played a part in Ava's cancer too.
Yeah, there's a lot. I mean, all of this goes to show. I mean, there can be a lot of speculation, and I think there are. So I will try to find that study with the increased vaccine rates and the increased
and post it here.
And there were specific kinds of cancer. It wasn't just cancer in general, but and I'll try to post it here. But I think all of this just goes to show that it's like, well, I really feel that it could have been this, or I really feel that it could have been that, or I am 99% sure that this is what it was. I think bottom line is always that no one's ever going to know everything, and it is at the end of the day, you talk about being intimidated by authority, or just feeling like a little shy or whatever. At the end of the day, we are our pets' only advocate. Honestly,
absolutely, they can't talk.
Right, and we can only do our best. We can try to be proactive. We can try to learn outside of whatever you hear on one of these lives, or go and do your own research.
Yeah,
we've look into these things.
We've actually said to vets before, honestly, where they come at us and say, "Oh, we need to do this, and this, or this is wrong, or we think it's this." We've been like, Can we make a follow-up appointment first before we do anything, so that we can just research this a little bit, because I've never heard of this. I'm not quite sure. Like, tell me what, like, you're giving me all your information now. I want to go research a little bit more. Is that cool? Like, is my pet going to be fine for the next 5 days? Because I'd like to just read up on this a little bit.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. Absolutely. I mean, like I said, the vet that I go to, he's traditional. He's very open-minded to integrative, and he does do some integrative things. I mean, not to the extent that, we do it, but he's to the point that, like, he's like, okay, well, here's what I'm finding in your pet. And he'll actually say, so what do you think, Trish? What would you do? And he's actually sent people to me for the keto diet to help dogs, which, the little Shih Tzu that I'm helping is from him. And there was another one that he sent me that was a client's friend in Texas. And it's, I mean, he's very, it's amazing, because it's like, you talk to them, and I tell him, I'm like, well, for Ava, I'm going to do this and this. He's like, well, that's actually a great idea. I'm going to write that down. Can I let other people know? I'm like, yeah, absolutely. So I love that. And I mean, and I just think that other vets, I know that there's some that, just like doctors, they have their shields on. This is my protocol.
Yeah.
This is what I was taught. And the thing is that good for them. And there's people that want to go to a doctor like that. Yeah. But if you don't do your research, learn as much as you can, know what you want for your pet, and then when you go in, talk with kindness and say, listen, I'm understanding what you're saying, but hey, can we talk about this? Can we talk about this? Can we talk about this? And,
I just want to repeat, I think the most important thing that you just said, yes, being proactive, and yes, finding the right vet, but no matter what, to talk with kindness.
Yes.
I think that is the most important thing, communicating with anyone, but it's such a lost art for so much out there in the world right now. And I think that you can accomplish so much more with kindness. People, maybe people think it's weakness, maybe people think it's whatever. I call BS on that. And I really feel like that, especially when it comes to in this kind of situation where you're just trying to care the best that you can, the vet is too, right? For your pet.
Yes.
Speak with kindness. There's no reason for confrontation. There's no reason to have massive conflict. It's really about speak with kindness. I love how you said that.
Yes.
It's so true. I mean, because they disagree with everything you say, I would like to believe that most vets want the best for your pets.
Oh, 100%. Why would you go through the amount of schooling, the amount of money that it costs to go through schooling? Why would you do any of that if you don't love animals? Like, obviously, they started this journey because they love animals. Now they're dealing with, 15, 30, 50 pets per day. And they're having to, like Dr. Liz Bale said, she'll go into one where she has to actually euthanize a cat and then walk into the next appointment where it's a kitten
Someone's brand new kitten.
that's brand new kitten and just wants to, get a new
Different.
wellness exam because they were just, check them out. And she has to go from, I just had to watch the saddest, like this, the saddest pet
a widow
owner.
lose his wife's, his wife has passed and her cat has now just passed. It was the last friend he had on this earth.
Last attachment
And
to his
it's like, my
wife,
God.
and then she has to go straight into another appointment and put on a smiley face and
Right.
say, "Oh, how such a sweet kitten." I mean, that's why you see the suicide rate
Yes.
skyrocketing with veterinarians, right? So we have to understand that they are real people.
They really are.
and we
the
do
thing
have to
is,
speak with
we're
kindness.
so attached to our pets that we think that they need to be totally 100% just there for our pets, which
Yeah.
would be a lovely and a perfect world, but they don't have just your pet to take care of.
We don't
They-
have enough people in the world for that.
Right.
If every pet parent had one veterinarian that was only tied to them, we would have a lot of money, right? Every pet
Yeah.
parent would be like really rich because it's like, oh, I have my own personal veterinarian.
Right.
Right? So, I mean, that would be ideal, but there's not even enough people in comparison to pet.
I
No,
mean,
but you're
honestly,
right. I mean,
we're-
that's what we would like, but it's just not. It's not the reality.
Yeah. And we have to understand that as pet parents, that our
Yeah.
veterinarians are, they're
They're
in it
doing-
for
they're doing
our
the-
cat.
Say
They're
again.
doing the best that they could do. They
Yes.
love the animals. They love
Yes.
working at Natural Pet with Dr. Becker. She loved all the animals, but it was one animal after another, after another, after another. And the thing is with her niche, with her specialty, it was really crazy because a lot of the people that came to her, the traditional vets were like, I have nothing else to offer. And so that's a lot on one person saying, okay, that vet had nothing to offer, make them all better,
Right.
And it was amazing what diet could do, what stopping vaccines could do, but it's still a lot on the vets. I mean, we have to respect what they do, and they're people. They're people.
Yeah. Yeah.
But we also have to understand in this realm that we are, as Adrian just said, we are our pet's only advocate.
Yes.
So there are things, and I've seen so many interviews, Dr. Karen Becker included, where veterinarians get together and they talk about the fact that as pet parents, some of the best things that you can do are record. Pick up your smartphone. Everybody has a smartphone. Record what is strange, what's strangely going on with your animal, like, or write it down. Do whatever it is so that you
when it's
have
happening.
when it's happening, because you bring your cat into the vet, and I mean, we had this how many times with Scotch?
Oh my God.
It was like, he has a respiratory problem. He's sneezing all over the house. We bring
Like
him in.
snot rockets. Like he'll sneeze snot rockets.
Yeah,
I
we
have
bring him in.
listening.
There's
You
no
are
sneeze.
singing to the choir, man. I have boogers all over the house.
Right,
Yes.
right.
We bring him in, and there's no congestion. There's nothing.
Absolutely fine.
Oh,
He
no.
has no respiratory
Misty
problems.
sneezes all over the vets. They're like, oh, that's gross. I'm like, yeah, tell me about it.
Yeah, but he has to actually do it, and a lot of times, our pets go into this stress mode and this survival mode when they get to a veterinarian, and they're not exhibiting any kind of symptoms. So our
Not at
vets
all.
only have what they can go off of, and what if they can only go off of, this is my pet, please tell me what's wrong, then that's all they have to go off
Yeah.
of. If
Right.
instead they have a notebook full or videos full of, this is my cat, breathing this way, or this is my dog sneezing this way,
Yeah.
and this is happening according to
X
my
amount of
records
times.
this many times per day, then they have more to go off of, and they can make a
And
better and more
nobody-
informed decision.
Nobody knows your pet like you do. I mean, that Great Dane that I told you about that they thought he had lepto, when I brought him in, he was the prettiest Great Dane, pure black, muscles. I mean, he was just perfectly proportioned. He was my parvo dog that lived to be,
Oh,
but
wow.
he ended up dying, of this weird thing. But when I brought him in, the vet's like, Trish, he looks amazing. And I'm like, you don't understand. there's something wrong with him. I knew it before the vet knew it. And he, like, from examining him, he's like, all right, well, you know, he's like, I'm not really finding anything. We'll run some blood. Let me take his temperature. And then it was like, okay, his temperature is really high. I knew before the vet, because he looked at this dog that looked great, but I knew something was drastically wrong, really wrong. So it's like, you need to pay attention to your cats and dogs' habits. You need to, you know when they're off. Yes. Especially for something like lepto or Lyme disease or something, you need to check them for ticks. You need to check them, you know, if they have temperatures and stuff, and get them in. You know, with cats, it's like, you know, I've had cats that, I told you Misty had that seizure, and I'm like, who would have known it was anal glands that caused that, you know? It's like, you just need to know your pets. You need to know them and bring them in and tell the vet, listen, I know she looks great now, but here's what happened.
There's something off.
Yeah, and if you're anything like me and you have like a horrible memory, then keeping, you know, when you see these kind of things, writing it down.
I wonder what
really
causes
helpful.
that.
What's that?
I wonder what causes that horrible memory.
I don't know.
I have no idea.
Oh.
I'm cracking myself up.
I don't know if Jill is still on here, but I told Jill today, I'm like, I'm so sorry. We were talking about a cat last night, and I was like, I'm so sorry. I have such a horrible memory, and I'm sure the wine doesn't help.
It does not.
No.
Oh, Carolyn posted Dr. Becker's video on antibiotics. Carolyn, you're the best. I like her talking too about heartworm prevention. No such thing.
Yeah.
I think that vaccines is such a wide open issue. I know that we keep like
venturing off. I mean, but it's all the same thing. Like we're talking about getting to know your vet, and that has to do with, when it comes to vaccines, it's the same thing. If you have a relationship with your vet, then you can say, hey, so I've been doing some research, and I recently found out that, you know, some of my friends have cats or dogs that have died from cancer that were vaccine induced. Could we possibly do a titer? Do you know, like, can we do that instead this time? Because I just want to make sure that, you know, Photo. I like Photo.
Okay, she's kind of
Photo.
I'm going to name my next Great Dane Photo.
Yeah, I think you should FOTO, Photo. Lives until, you know, the longest life he can, so that we're, you know, I want to make sure that we don't end up with a cancer issue going on here. And there's so many people that still to this day, and I hate it. I understand where they're coming from, but I hate it that there's so many people that are anti-vets in general, because they believe that they are all out to, you know, they're giving all these vaccines so that they come back with cancer, so that they can now get money for chemotherapy,
make money and
blah,
stuff.
blah, blah.
And I don't believe that. I don't
either.
believe that. I think that, you know, is what they were taught in vet school. And it's the normal protocol, especially if a vet that's just starting out goes into a practice with multiple vets. They're going to follow the protocol. Yeah. You know, so it's
in some cases they absolutely have to, or they lose their license. Like if they don't follow the protocol, if they're in a clinic that's owned by Mars,
and it's
which
scary.
is all of Banfield.
Like my vet, I mean, he's interested in the, you know, more natural way to go, but it is a scary step to take, to really cross that line of saying, yeah, let's not vaccinate all this much. Let's not do this or that. It is scary, because people want to come in and they want to go home with that antibiotic. They want to go home with a steroid. They want to go home with a pill saying, yeah, I got something for my dog. Yeah.
Well, and I do think, just to follow up too on and I think that there's been a time when we kind of ran the ridge of being like, I think they're just trying to get money out of us. I think that but I think now I firmly, genuinely believe that there's so much that we can do as proactive pet parents that literally leaves no time for conspiracy theories. And you waste so much of your energy and perspective on that. It's one thing to be, it's like what you said, you have to take that time to know what you want, to know your pet, to have an idea of the question, even if it's a situation you know nothing about, what are the questions that you have, and to be able to articulate those things. Way different than having that more fear-based mentality or perspective of I got to go in because my pet is bleeding, so I should probably go to the vet.
Right.
But you go with an attitude, a very defensive attitude about it, or
And
a very,
you can't. You have to work as a team with your vet. You really do. I mean, and it's easy for me to say because I will have to say when I go to a new vet, one of the first things that I say is that I worked for Dr. Karen Becker, and they're like, "Oh, well, what do you want us to do?" And I'm like, "Oh, no, you're still the vet."
That's a good one, though.
Oh, I'm gonna start lying about that.
You will not.
I mean, I actually have had that happen. That, when I tell them, it's like, I'd like to go more natural and stuff, and then they're like, all of a sudden they're backing away from being the vet. And I'm like, oh no, I'm so not a vet. I know about some things to a certain extent, but I need you to be my doctor. And you're a team. You're a team. Definitely a team.
Nate's got a great idea. He said just make a T-shirt and wear it to the vet. Tighter over vaccinations.
That's a great idea, Nate.
That's Operation Communication.
We should start selling that as merch.
Tighter merch.
Tighter merch.
You guys are going in an hour and a half. We should probably start wrapping this up.
Where's the time?
It's almost 5:00.
Oh,
Pacific
you're looking
Standard
at
Time.
the actual time.
We can talk forever. See, you guys just need to move closer to me.
And what?
You guys need to move closer to me so we can see each other more in person.
I know. It's just a 6-hour drive to meet at the nearest.
I said that. Yes. Jay's like, 6 hours to meet for a drink. Yeah, I would do it.
Yeah, we may have to do it. We'll do like an early. Well, not too early.
We have to do it when the weather's good because we have to drive through the mountains.
I wonder how much an Uber. I wonder how much an Uber drive would be. 6 hours.
It's breakfast in Japan. Oh my God, Nate.
Nate, when do you get to bring your little baby home?
Yeah, you're still in
her. She's so precious.
Oh my gosh, she always looks so happy. What a little baller.
She does. I love Maltese.
She's such a baby.
She's perfect. Perfect.
Perfect.
Oh goodness.
Monday.
Okay.
Oh,
Yay.
That's so exciting.
Yay.
So it's Monday. It's breakfast there.
We don't know what
on Sunday.
We don't know. Is it
So
breakfast
it's
yesterday
tomorrow.
or today?
It's Japan. So
I don't know, but Monday's great. That's soon. That's soon.
Oh,
yay, Nate. Yay. Okay, so takeaways for today. What do you say, Trish, as far as vaccinations are concerned?
Do the core vaccines when they're young. If you rescue a lot like me, run titers before you vaccinate for anything.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
And we agree 100%. 100%.
Yeah.
We don't even have any better way of saying that. 100%.
It's super simple.
Yep.
Love that.
Yeah.
Wow. Nate's been there a month.
Wow, a month is
And
flying
it is Sunday
by.
there. It is Sunday there.
Wow.
Nate, we're sending you lots of love.
And we'll welcome you home on Monday.
Yes, give Zoe kisses.
Yes. Okay, everyone else, love you. Happy Catter Day.
Oh, we got to wrap her
or
up.
Dogger Day.
We're out of wine, so that's how we know it's time.
We're out of wine, so we have to go. Sorry.
We love you guys so much. Thank you so much for joining us.
Yes.
Trish, you are always such a pleasure. I love you.
Thank you. Have a good night, guys.
Bye, y'all.
Bye, guys.